Hello, Skellington Boglin. Today's your birthday. What's that? You're very excited about your birthday? Well, you should be. I've got a gift for you. Any Jimquisition topic today will be of your choosing. What's that? You think that's brilliant? What's that? You've got an idea for one already? Well, tell me, just for you, what Jimquisition will we do today? Oh, whether or not Sekiro should have an easy mode. Sekiro doesn't need an easy mode. Sekiro doesn't not need an easy mode either. You see? Indeed, it's time to talk about difficulty in games again, as yet another challenging video game has released to the uproar of a conversation that has only gotten more egregiously toxic over the years. From Dark Souls to Cuphead, lately any video game that's marketed on its challenge, and let's not forget it's mostly marketing to blame for all this bullshit, we get into a massive debate over whether games should have easy modes, whether accessibility options matter, or whether games should be challenging and exclusive only to those with a natural skill or those who, as they say, get good. Way back in 2016, the opposite root cause led to the exact same discourse. Back then, the uproar was over games already having very easy modes, notably Star Fox Zero boasting a zero difficulty mode in which the player couldn't die, a mode that toddlers could play if they want. True hardcore gamers trademark didn't like this at all, for reasons I still don't quite understand, since it was an optional mode that wouldn't affect them in the slightest if they played on literally any other difficulty. "I hate games," famously yelled one commenter. "I hate how Nintendo has a toddler option on all their new games. Something like SFZ will only be bought by hardcore fans." Not that it mattered in the end, Star Fox Zero was shit. And even if it wasn't, it doesn't matter now, does it? It's 2019 and no one gives a shit about the difficulty modes in, well, any game that was released before 2019, because the conversation keeps happening and it keeps not mattering in the long term because people just enjoy the games they bloody enjoy. "Are people really incapable of any sort of difficulty?" asks one superior gamer. "So what if a player struggles? It's the only way they'll get good." So what if a player struggles? Fair question. Here's a follow-up question. So what if a player doesn't struggle? Seriously, so what? Are you really gonna get mad at a baby for playing a game on its baby setting? Does that idea, again, in the modern world, does that matter today to you? Does that set your teeth on edge, knowing that some people played Star Fox Zero and didn't die? If it does, why? I'll ask again what I asked in 2016, as I'm still, after all this time, no closer to understanding exactly why people froth at the mouth over this shit outside of selfish, elitist, gatekeeping reasons. What is so harmful about a completely optional mode that you never have to experience? Is your problem that others might have an easier time and not get good at the game on its default mode? So what? Why are you worried about what others think so long as they're having fun with the same game? Isn't that what games are primarily about? Being entertained, getting your money's worth. If some find that entertainment and value in a mode where they can't die, what does it really fucking matter? Especially in this industry where it's getting harder and harder to find fun games that are just fun games that aren't trying to fuck you over, psychologically manipulating people into spending more money, making games grindier, making games less fun, all to squeeze extra cash out of people who have already bought the damn game. The game industry itself is working way too hard to make games less fun. The last thing we all need to do as a collective is make games less fun for each other, just poisoning the well of the discussion with this shit. The anger over easier modes that already exist seems to run counter to a very popular argument against an easy mode in Dark Souls or Cuphead or Sekiro. It would betray the developer's artistic vision. From Software had a very careful game balance in mind when it designed Sekiro, and therefore we cannot argue with them. whatever on the modes they do or don't choose to have in their games. That's how criticism apparently works. But sure, whatever, it's about artistic integrity, it's about respecting what the developers want. But if you decide that's going to be your argument, you can no longer get mad when developers do add easy modes because, you know, respecting the developer's vision and all that. Respecting creative vision seems to also go against the popularity of mods, so you can't have mods anymore either. Modding a game to improve its UI, add new features and content, sometimes change the entire visual style of a game, is not only common but has been aggressively fought for over the years. Developers who disallow modding are often maligned, and Bethesda was justly raked over the coals when it attempted to capitalize on modding and turn it into a glorified microtransaction system. Mods exist that raise or lower the difficulty of many games, and they've existed before without much issue. In fact, in one of the many threads about Dark Souls difficulty out there, mods were used as an argument against an official easier mode. For people wanting an easy mode, it's very easy to download modded save files for Demon Souls and Dark Souls that make the game really easy. Well, you can imagine what happened when a mod came out to make the latest From game easier. After someone used a mod that slowed Sekiro down to make combat less brutal, people became furious. The guy's best Sekiro with cheats! Works at PC Gamer, this is what a casual cuck looks like! And another. Wait, that's the cuck who wrote that shitty article about beating Sekiro with cheats! Soy boy with a disgusting neckbeard! And of course there was that other response to the Sekiro mod, the one that became, well, memed overnight, one so arrogant it could only be read by an aristocrat, a literal aristocrat.
You cheated not only the game, but yourself. You didn't grow. You didn't improve. You took a shortcut and gained nothing. You experienced a hollow victory. Nothing was risked, and nothing was gained. It's sad that you don't know the difference. Royston! I just roasted me a soy boy casual neckbeard! He doesn't know the value of hard work! Now feed me grapes are dangling from your hand!
Bear in mind, this was a mod for personal use, not a demand for an easier mode to be added to the game. Someone solved their own problem. It was simply someone using modifications to make the game more personally enjoyable. You know, the thing that mods have existed to do since mods fucking began. But this time, it was unacceptable, and it was unacceptable for no good reason. Because even if you think an easier mode in a game causes harm somehow, the writer who used the mod only quote-unquote harmed themselves, harm in this case making a game they bought more finely tuned to their own sense of fun, which I can't even pretend to find upsetting. People get mad if a difficulty option already exists. They get mad if some people are put off when a game doesn't have an easy mode. They get mad if you don't just go and mod the game yourself. They get mad if you do just go and mod the game yourself. It's almost as if the argument evolves so that nobody can win unless they achieve the nirvana of getting good, which is fine so long as the process of getting good is actually fun for the player. If the game isn't enjoyable until after you've gotten good, then people probably ain't gonna give it a chance. That's where Dark Souls was always so masterful. Getting good was fun. It already gives players many options to deal with the game's challenges while maintaining a certain level of challenge itself. You can level up, you can call in help from co-op players, you can try a massive variety of weapons and armor, and all of it's valid, all of it can work, giving players tons of enjoyable options. And if people want a tougher time, they can run around in just their underpants hitting things with a broken sword. All that said, it's clear From Software has a very strong vision with any game it makes, and even with so many options, Dark Souls and the more streamlined Bloodborne have one set difficulty level across the board, and that's fine. We have to accept that designing games this way comes with a risk of turning otherwise interested customers away, but it's fine. Sekiro is even more strict about the way it's to be played. There is only really one way to approach it, one way to maintain an advantage in combat. It's focused heavily on parrying and countering enemy attacks, while maintaining a steady rhythm between defense and the seizure of opportunities. It's a specific game with a precise goal and a heavy emphasis on pretty merciless challenge. All of this is fine. Sekiro is a critical and commercial success, sold fucking, 2 million already? Brilliant. It's an incredibly well-made game that succeeds at its core philosophy. It doesn't need an easy mode at all, and if From Software believes adding one will pollute its philosophy, then great. Good for them. Seriously, From shouldn't feel forced to add an easy mode if they believe it would violate their vision. I totally respect that. But I also respect that you, the player, paid $60 for a video game and can do whatever the hell you want with it. It's not in From's artistic vision that Dark Souls should say thanks Obama when you die, but people modded that shit into the game in droves anyway. It's not in From's artistic vision that you glitch the game out and walk through the air to skip and break gameplay sequences, but speedrunners do it to rightly earned applause. It's not in From's artistic vision that their games be played at a slower speed, but oh well, people have done it, can't put the toothpaste in the tube now. It's their game, it's their mods, it's their experience. It's got nothing to do with how you personally approach and enjoy games. And again, I need to bring this back to something that's actually important. You know, the game industry itself is working so hard to stop us having fun in games to make more fucking money. We need to not be policing how other people have fun. If certain fucking publishers get their way, none of us will be having fun anymore. Have you seen the Elderscrolls Blades? Have you fucking seen it? This game that Todd Howard said was a pure Elder Scrolls experience, where it takes anywhere between 5 seconds and 6 hours to open a fucking loot box. That's what they want to turn games into, so have fun with Sekiro, have fun with Dark Souls, have fun with any game you can get your fucking hands on. Enjoy it. Cherish it, and stop attacking others over having fun. Just have the fucking fun while you still can. Ooh, ooh. I don't know why I turned into a ghost at the end. Okay, it's time to say that thing I said in 2016, the same thing I said in 2013 before then, because apparently this conversation blows up roughly every 3 years. Oh, so let's say that thing that gets people mad again. If From Software decided to add an easy mode to Dark Souls, I wouldn't give a speck of dry jizz, and I don't know how anyone else could either. Every time I say this, I'm automatically misquoted as saying I want an easy mode in Dark Souls. I've been misquoted on this since around 2013, most of the bloody decade. And the thing is, I don't even want an easy mode, because I don't care enough about whether one's in there or not. I don't give a shit. I'm not asking for or demanding an easy mode in Dark Souls. I wouldn't use an easy mode in Dark Souls, and that is exactly why I don't care whether one's in there or not, because I wouldn't use it anyway. It wouldn't affect me at all. And people say, well, how would it work? Answer that one, genius. And I won't answer that one, because I don't care whether one's in there or not. It's not my problem to solve. It's not From Software's problem to solve. They don't want to put one in. But if they did, I'm sure they'd figure out an elegant solution, because they're From Software and they're better game designers than me or you. The only reason my indifference toward an easy mode has been categorized as me demanding one is this ridiculous, farcical, us versus them mentality, where you're either for it or against it. And you know, not everything has to be an ideological war. You've got your Sekiro. You love your Sekiro. Enjoy it. Don't make yourself miserable by worrying about how other people are enjoying the game. I've been staring at this particular comment and I just don't get it. The argument is that an easy mode would detract from the experience because after a boss has beaten you to a pulp 30 times, we'd all be, and that's what it says, we'd all be tempted by the easier fight. No, we wouldn't. That's literally never happened to me, and I'm not even very good at video games, so I don't know what a real hardcore gamer would struggle with there. And I know for a fact that I'm not tempted in that way, because Capcom does that thing where it offers to lower the difficulty for you if you die one too many times in a particular place. And every time that's happened to me, because I'm not very good at video games, I take the attitude of, fuck you, Capcom. Fuck you! Don't you take pity on me! Don't you pity me! I don't need your pity, you scum! Did the mere existence of a lower difficulty setting detract from Devil May Cry 5 for you? If it did, get good at handling different difficulty levels in a game. Get on my level, scrub! Also, if someone does lower the difficulty of a game, it probably is because they really struggle at the normal mode. So if they bump it down to easy mode, they'll probably struggle at it still. If they're less skilled than you, right, playing it on the easy mode would give them an equivalent experience if that mode's been finely tuned and developed correctly. Easy modes aren't new, of course. The standard, hard, normal, and easy settings have been a part of video games for decades with nary a complaint. And these days, ways of adjusting difficulty and challenge have become an art form in and of themselves. Among the most impressive is Celeste, a game most of us agree is very good indeed. On its default settings, Celeste offers plenty of resistance to players attempting to conquer it and collect everything, but you can tweak almost any aspect of said resistance if you're struggling. You can extend your ability to air dash, you can slow the game down, remove stamina penalties, or even just become invincible like SFZ's Zero difficulty mode. It was rightly hailed at the time for its non-condescending approach to difficulty. It was a game that admitted, quite acceptingly, hey, not everyone can play the game in its default settings, here's a way to tailor it to your liking. And that itself isn't a new thing. Early Silent Hill games offered their own rudimentary adjustable difficulty, allowing players to raise and lower the challenge of combat and puzzles as two separate things. So you can have brutal enemies but easy puzzles, or breeze past enemies while giving your brain a workout, and none of this has been controversial. It does only seem to be certain games where this discussion about difficulty and easy modes causes people to clutch their pearls and gasp in horror. Games that a certain group of people have decided are theirs, and theirs alone. Something to guard jealously like a dragon on its pile of gold. And fuck that, when I like a game I want people to know about it, like I want people to know about Sticks and Bones, which is the funniest fucking game I've played in years. For $10 it's super short, so it's a very hard to recommend game, but it's the deadly premonition of zero budget Steam games. Now, am I just looking for an excuse to awkwardly shoehorn in a plug for a game I really enjoyed? Yes, I am. Primarily because it's an obscure game, and also a game I'm being positive about, which means it would get about 100 views if I did it in its own video. But the point is, when I love a game, I want everyone else to love it too. That's the ideal world for me, where all the horrible shit I like is widely accepted. If we lived in that sort of glorious world, my dates wouldn't hurriedly leave the house and drive screeching off into the night when I say, sit right there, I'm gonna put Puppet Master on. I guess I just don't understand and never will understand the mindset that says, I'm enjoying this game, I don't want others to enjoy it.
You are a hipster.
Making games accessible, making games enjoyable for a variety of people, that should be seen overall as a net positive, surely. Speaking purely hypothetical, if an easy mode led to Sekiro selling another 1 million copies, then I would be all for that. I will take any game that isn't some mismanaged, cynically produced, live service trash, selling as many copies as possible via almost any means. I mean, provided they're good games in the first place, a game like Sekiro or Jimmy Johnson's Anything with an Engine. Games don't have to be designed to appeal to everybody, that's true, but it's generally good for both the audience and the game if they do have a varied appeal. They don't have to appeal to everybody, but if there's a way without compromising the game to appeal to a few extra people, a more diverse crowd, that's generally just gonna be good for the game's success. Sekiro did very well, amazingly well. Would it have done better if more people felt they could play it? Probably yes, because in general, the more people a game looks accessible to, the more people will access it. Some hardcore gamers TM don't like that idea. Whenever I've argued in favour of accessibility in the past, I've been shouted down for quote-unquote demanding that games appeal to quote-unquote everybody. Some games, it is argued, should exclude shouldn't be as accessible, should shut people down. The game isn't for them, they argue. It's for people who know the value of hard work because they played a video game a lot and got good at it. While the phrase "get good" used to be a joke, the humour's been sucked out of it by people who took it seriously and now use it as a barrier to entry. Because the irony of people angry at the idea of those who want games made for them is that they too want games made for them, and only them. Not every game's made for you, these people argue, while at the same time wanting a game made purely, solely for them. And if you do that, you don't ever get to complain about games not selling as well as you want them to, because by your own admission, you don't want outsiders playing your games, so you don't really want them to be as successful as they could potentially be. You just want to hoard the game to yourself, and if you do that, there probably won't be many of them made. The next time a publisher cancels a series because it sold below expectations, you don't get to be pissed off. I do, because I don't want games to be exclusive to just me, but get-gooders don't get to. That sort of discussion is, how would you say, not for you. Diluting your game to cynically chase every conceivable demographic just makes a game watered down shit. Adding some features that bring new audiences in to join your existing one, however, is basically good business. Part of the reason the AAA industry is in such a slump that I got really angry at that bit. I put the emphasis on industry. Part of the reason the AAA industry is in such a slump is that it designs games to appeal only to people who already buy their games. That's why Fuse turned out shit, focus-tested wank that it was. And this is why, rather than find ways to expand their audience, publishers use monetization to squeeze more money out of a stagnant audience pool. Yes, I have efficiently tied even the easy mode debate back to microtransactions. That's why I'm so fucking good at this job. I don't just respect the lack of an easy mode in Sekiro. I am impressed by its boldness, the same way I was impressed that Nier Automata doesn't reveal the true scope of its narrative until you've beaten it twice. Doing that is a huge risk in an industry where making as much money as possible is the only goal of mainstream publishers. That's fucking admirable. What Sekiro's done is admirable. But even with that in mind, if Sekiro had an easy mode, I just wouldn't care. Why should I? Why should anyone? Anyway, see you for this discussion in another 3 years, I guess.
Fuck you, Skellington Boglin. Fuck you. Anyway, I realise there's a measure of irony in me emphasising how little I care about the debate while doing a 20-minute video that shows I care on some level, and I do. I do care on some level. I don't care about easy modes in games. I don't much care for the cyclical discussion about difficulty in games. It's the same thing. It's a cycle. It goes on and on, but very much like the game industry itself, it's a circle that goes...
So as you can see, I had an outro, a closing statement, all recorded, and it was talking about how reductive it is to speak of From Software games in terms of only difficulty. But right at the last minute, I was compelled to say something else. Something that few hardcore gamers, if they've gotten this far, will find blasphemous, insulting. And I'm quite certain when I say this, a certain subgroup of hardcore gamers will take it out of context forever and quote it to each other so they can get off on what a not real gamer I am. So here goes. I don't play video games to be challenged. Not technically, not on a mechanical you will die level. Challenging games can be fun, of course, but they're usually fun for many other reasons, not just because they're challenging. I've been playing video games since, well, Commodore 64 cassettes were still sold in W.H. Smith. Hell, W.H. Smith was still a thing. Is it still a thing? I haven't been to the UK in ages. Anyway, I played Dizzy Prince of the Oak Folk on the Commodore, I played Gremlins 2 on the NES, why not? But it wasn't until the late 90s came along and the UK got Final Fantasy VII, and not all that long after we got Metal Gear Solid, that I got a chance to appreciate that, hey, video games can have something to say. Video games can have intricate stories with lots of different plot threads and lots of different themes. And that's why I truly love games, because they can be so many things. I play Final Fantasy VII for the story. I played Metal Gear Solid for the wild characters and the interesting anti-war themes. I play Silent Hill for the dread atmosphere. I play Saints Row to be immersed in an open world of consequence-free nonsense. I played Red Dead Redemption 2 for the impressive writing and the amazing vocal performances. And challenge can make those games more interesting, more fun, but challenge on its own isn't all that compelling to me. It's not why I play games at all. People try and gatekeep what video games can and cannot be enjoyed, what video games can and cannot be played by some people. And those people often seem unhappy. They seem like they don't actually like video games. I know when I like things, I enjoy sharing them. I think that one quote near the top of the show said it best. I hate games. And I'm not saying you hate games if you like challenge and you play games primarily to be challenged, but there are lots of other valid reasons to get into and enjoy and love games, and if you don't respect those reasons, you probably don't like games very much, because some people truly do talk as if challenge is the only thing that makes a game worthwhile. So much so that if there is an alternative way to enjoy a game, they get offended, and they'll call you a cuck and tell you that you're playing the game wrong. And that just doesn't seem like it's particularly fond of video games, having that attitude, wanting them gated off, closed off, kept away from the quote-unquote masses. And while I'm here, I might as well address what some people are doing, where they're finding players who are physically challenged in some way, who have managed to get through Sekiro, failing to note, of course, that there's a reason why stories like that become big hits, become major headlines, and why people playing Dark Souls with a Guitar Hero controller also become pretty significant news stories. It's not because the games are easy and that they quote-unquote don't need easy modes or whatever, it's because those players are exceptionally talented. That's why they're big headline-grabbing news stories, because they're exceptional. And that word spins off from exception for a reason. It's not a good faith argument, it makes you look like a bit of a dick, and it completely ignores the fact that accessibility options exist in video games for many different reasons. Easy mode being one such accessibility option. Anyway, this bit was only supposed to be a minute long, so I'm gonna wrap it up there. Yeah, thank God for me. All that shit.